Hello everybody, guess what, we've got ourselves another one. This time the name is Philos71 and he's asking 5 questions. Now Philos71, I hope you will forgive me. I hope you will, because I know you demanded that your 5 questions must be answered by intelligent atheists. And here I am, having the affront to sit here and start answering those questions. But I hope you'll bear with me anyway and listen to what I've got to say. Now, I hope you're sitting comfortably, because this will take a while. It's going to take a bit more than 10 minutes, I would imagine, so it's going to be a multi-parter. So, first of all, you start by equating the God of the gaps argument that some theists would put forward to explain the stuff they do not know, with a chance argument that a scientist might put forward to explain something he or she doesn't know. Well, there are so many dissimilarities between the two lines of argumentation that I find it hard to even know where to begin. But let me start by pointing out the very first, very obvious difference between using God and using something like chance as an explanation for anything. And that is this: what happens if a person does not believe in your God? Well, chances are you will declare that person condemned to, for example, hell or oblivion or eternal separation from God or whatnot. If you don't believe in a scientist's idea of chance to explain a certain phenomenon, they're not going to threaten you with hellfire and damnation. Don't ever expect that to happen. The idea of God is one that does not tolerate dissent or doubt. The scientific explanation for anything invites doubt. And that brings me to what the actual explanation of a scientist invoking chance to explain something would in fact be. They would call such a thing a hypothesis. And the idea of a hypothesis is to put it forward for anybody to look at, investigate, find counter-evidence against, and falsify if possible. The God, whether it is of gaps or anything else, does not tolerate such a thing. So the two are completely different. But also, what you fail to see is that evolution is not a complex of just so stories. In any case, evolution isn't even governed by chance. This is a mistake that many a religious fundamentalist anti-evolutionist would make against evolution. They claim it is a random process, producing life through chaos. Nothing is further from the truth. There is nothing, absolutely nothing, random about evolution. The process itself is completely and utterly deterministic. It takes a population of individuals and weeds out those that are least adapted to the environment in which they live, allowing the better adapted individuals to survive, those that procreate, so that in the next generation there are more better adapted offspring in the population. Now, there's nothing random about that. There is one thing random in the whole process, and that is the input into the system. But the input into the system, the naturally occurring variation of within a group of organisms, is not the process. It is the input into the process. The process itself, like I said, is completely deterministic. Not only that, let's look at the whole situation. First of all, we've got a population of organisms within which there is naturally occurring variation. Surely you are not going to argue against that, are you? Because the facts are indisputable. Go outside, look at any population of any type of organism, and then come back and tell me that there is absolutely no variation between individuals, and I will call you a liar. So that is the first fact that cannot be disputed. The second fact is that organisms that reproduce unchecked and that have plenty of food available will reproduce in an exponential fashion. Whether this is really fast or really slow, it still is a fact of life. And again, you don't need to look at fossils and things that are long dead to confirm this. You can go outside and look at any population of any type of organism and confirm this as an indisputable fact. So populations, if left unchecked, tend to expand. Thirdly, there is only a finite amount of resources available on this planet or within any environment on this planet. Surely you're not going to argue against that. Surely you're not going to argue that the Earth is infinitely big and contains infinitely many resources. So therefore, if a population is expanding exponentially, but there's only a limited set of resources available, there is going to come a point, as Malthus quite rightly pointed out, at which the environment cannot sustain the population, no matter how successful the species might be. What do you think is going to happen at that stage? Individuals are going to die before they can reach reproductive age. And now we're coming back to point number one. There is a natural occurring variation within any population. As a result, some individuals within that population happen to be slightly better adapted to live in an environment than others. What do you think is going to happen when the pressure is on, like I just explained? Obviously and indisputably, those who are the least adapted to the environment are going to kick the bucket first. Even though every death is a random occurrence, statistically this is going to be the case, and statistically those who are least adapted to the environment are going to die first. Those who are best adapted will survive, are more likely to survive to reproductive age. So then, in the next generation of organisms, obviously again, there's going to be a larger incidence of organisms that are better adapted to the environment. But what's never going to change is that the variation within the population is never going to go away. The pressure is never going to go away, and so the process will continue all the time. All these things are indisputable, and so is the conclusion. And therefore evolution is a fact. Now, how a particular organism came to be the way it is today, now for that explanation, for that specific explanation, somebody might have to rely on just so stories, hypotheses, ideas. But nobody is going to say that that is definitively how it happened and that you must believe that that is the case. I do accept, of course, that within science, like in any other human endeavor, there are cliques and there are authoritarian cliques, people who might try to impose their will on others and who will suppress dissenting opinion, but in the end they cannot prevail because science as a discipline is self-correcting. So that goes a long way towards explaining how your argument that the God of the gaps is sort of equivalent to a scientist's argument involving chance is not only false to start with, but also the claim that the scientist willy-nilly relies on chance to explain away things he doesn't understand is false anyway.